You've been driving for a while and you feel like you've hit a plateau and you're just not improving anymore. You've upgraded your hardware, but you're still not able to be as fast as you would like. Well, guess what? I did that too, okay? I'm as guilty as you are. And that's exactly why Racine and myself created what we call the advanced way to learn. By using the techniques that we're about to show you, we were able to win national championships, and we're now coaching real-life drivers and sim racers all across the globe. So let me tell you why you absolutely need this to improve your racing skills. On this platform, you'll go through 5 learning steps. The first one is going to be to watch video lessons so you can take in all that theory. The second step will be to answer quizzes. We've created some questions to test your knowledge. Next, you'll have to partake in challenges. Here, you'll have to prove to yourself that you can apply what you've learned. You'll go on track and you'll try to beat the instructor's lap times for sector times. Following the challenge, you'll be able to send your onboard replay so instructors and other community members can help you improve. And lastly, you can get involved in the community to meet some new teammates and learn from others. This platform is a back and forth discussion between us, the instructor, and you, the students. If you're serious about becoming the best driver out there, this is the advanced way to learn.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Hello everybody and welcome to a very foggy Fuji Speedway here for the PRL GT3 Fixed Series here on RaceSpotTV. We are live for the penultimate time this season as finals week has a bit of a break in it because we're on penultimate week here in both GT3 championships. These drivers may well have had their look in earlier on this week when the iRacing Fuji 8 Hours took place, of course. How many of these drivers, I wonder, took part in that? Maybe as practice for this event. It's myself, Ian Lear, and Lorenzo Bonda taking you through this round of the championship. Good to be back alongside you, Lorenzo, in finals week, of course. We've got a very important couple of races coming up in some rather foggy conditions at Fuji.
Yeah, normal conditions at Fuji, if you want to call it that, right? Fuji always delivers when they have some unpredictability in terms of weather. I think 2007 and so many other years kind of like threw that into it. But let's see who's gonna tame the hills of Mount Fuji just lurking on its background for this event.
Sadly, we're not going to be able to see much of it, I would imagine, but it is still there. There is the schedule here for the season. We'll be at Sebring next week. That'll be our final PRL broadcast of 2024, of course, as we end the season. And don't forget, you can sign up for this series. If you're a returning driver, the sign-ups are already open on the PRL. So just letting you know for everyone who's already a driver. Let's have a look at the championship standings because it is very close and it's towards the end of the season now. Just 7 points between William Fenton and Israel Osborne. Jeff Codford also has a chance of winning this championship, although with a DNF at Watkins Glen, he did lose a bit of ground. Tyler Graff is almost secure in fourth, ahead of Eric Terry Hard, who moved up into the top five, ahead of Matt Scherf last time out. Andrew Trickett is in seventh, ahead of David Bush third, with Wardo Ward and Felix Feliz rounding out the top 10. In the AMS, we have got effectively everybody on your screen right now capable of winning the championship, although for some it's a lot less likely than others. Luke Davis leads by 5 points ahead of Colin McKenzie. Ryan Chandler's only 7 points behind. Thomas Rep only 13 behind. Pete Major rounds out the top 5 with Carsten Quint, Joe Pagero and David Morse all cover pretty closely. Dino Vella and Sam Smeltzer round out the top 10 in these standings. Then in the teams, it's Lunatic Jelly who are leading the way by only 22 points ahead of SGE. That'll be one to watch today as well. BNO and Jeff's Broken Wing Racing are only separated by 5 points for third, with Bump and Run not that far behind either. Lunatic Pinnacle are in 6th place ahead of E3 Sim Racing, with Saltpit Parabola Racing, PLR Simsport and SRTE Yellow rounding out the top 10. Before we go any further, let's thank the sponsors, of course, that make these broadcasts possible, starting with Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. RaceBox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision 5 coupon code. The booking of products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. And finally, Advanced Motorsports. Get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. Once again, a big thanks to all of those sponsors who make these broadcasts possible here on RaceSpotTV. We're live with the PRO, of course, 5 nights this week. Again, the finale of the Truck Series is coming up tomorrow from Auto Club Speedway. That's live from 9 p.m. Eastern, so very much hope you can join us then. We're into qualifying, 6.5 minutes away from its conclusion, and Jared Keane at the moment has the best time, although it's Ryan Osborne is making his way around the final corner. Not sure he's quite improving enough to get up towards the top at the moment. Although the bottom left there just says him first. That's not quite true, but he's close. Only 14 thousandths behind. You, of course, Lorenzo, were covering the opening part of the iRacing Fuji 8 Hours on Saturday. That's, of course, with some of the top names in sim racing. But there were plenty of these drivers in the field as well, actually. I think in the Sprint Series especially, we saw some of the drivers there on Saturday that we're going to be seeing again a little bit later on. How important would you say is qualifying going to be, given that this is a very different race, of course? Just 35 minutes for you to sort yourself out from your qualifying position.
So it's going to be an interesting one for me, how this is going to pan out. You know, I think track position is going to be very important. But I think we kind of mentioned this during the broadcast of the 8 hours, right? You weren't with me, but when I was with Jake. The draft train is going to be important for the fuel saving, right? I think maybe you and Jake might have brought it up, or you and Dara, when we're talking about it, how important fuel saving is going to be over here, right? Of course, the fuel load is way reduced, right? It's not 100% fuel. It's basically 40%, half the fuel tank that you're going to have for fixed in Sprint Series. But it's still going to be important for you to try to go as long as you can on the fuel stint than everybody else, and maybe have lesser time on the pit lane and then gain some track position. But of course, that can be a strategy that is always great on paper, but never well properly executed on the track.
And what about fuel saving as well in 35 minutes? Because during the 8-hour race, it was very apparent that fuel saving was a huge part of that race. But in 35 minutes, there will only be one stop. As you say, it is a reduced fuel tank, which means that they will require a pit stop. Will that be a factor, maybe, at fuel saving here in just 35 minutes as well?
So I think for fixed might be a factor of sorts, just in the terms of track position, and maybe gain an overcut or undercut on certain individuals. I saw, like, for example, we saw some pit stops back in the 8 hours that were potential undercuts that didn't work out, right? And overcuts were powerful, despite you being a little bit longer in the lane. But because I think this is reduced fuel, it's just more how you take advantage of that, and maybe you can gain track position by exploring the pit lane, pit limit options, right? So that might be a thing. So we'll see that in a few minutes.
Let's see what's going to happen when we get there. Of course, we're just over 3 minutes away from the end of qualifying at the moment. This is Pete Measure we're riding on board with. Can he get anywhere closer to Colin McKenzie? I think he might have done, or he was very close to. Nope, doesn't improve that time around. It was a couple of attempts slower than his previous best. Brett Furman moves up to 5th place, ahead of Sully Sad, who's now down to 7th, but he is improving the best of anyone inside the top 10. But will it really be enough? He doesn't need much of an improvement to get himself even maybe onto the 2nd row of the grid. It's very close from Colin McKenzie on backwards to around where Sully Sad is. I don't think that's quite enough, though, for him to move up to majorly there. For Sully Sad, it is just 13,000ths of a second slower than his previous best time. And there is Thurman, who's just moved up to 5th position. It does seem that nearly 20 minutes into this qualifying session now, people are starting to reach a bit of a limit, really, as to what they can achieve over one lap.
Yeah, and also I think it is that thing of, you know, trying to get the best lap possible on a track like this. This is not the easiest track for you to get a lap in, especially on the uphill sector. That is this one, right after the Dunlop chicane. And you come in and there's so many off-camber turns and braking zones that is easy to offset the car. I think we're going to be noticing that maybe as the race will go on, that the tires do take a little bit of a beating, right, even. So it's hard for you to get that perfect lap around here. And I kind of figured with the fixed setups as well, the lap would probably be around the 40 lows to 39 highs, despite the track conditions not being the hottest around Fuji.
Yes, very early in the morning, actually, as well as the time of year, of course, which we are running at different to, at least the schedule says we're going to be running the time of year at this end of the season differently to what it is in real life. So that might make things a little bit warmer than they otherwise might be, but it is still 7:15 in the morning as we start the race anyway. It will be, so that is going to keep things cool no matter what time of year it is. This is Tyler Graf down in 15th place, and that's a bit of a surprise, really. He's 4th place currently in the standings, and needs to make sure he doesn't lose too many points to Terry Hug to lose that 4th place in the standings. But at the moment, Terry Hug is only 1 place ahead of Tyler Graf. 15th place for him at the moment. Here he comes into the final couple of corners. I'm not sure he's really going to be improving here either. And indeed, he's not really on a fast lap at all right now, but 0.6 of a second down. This is William Fenson, just half a tenth behind Israel Osborne, who's won the last 3 races in a row. Fenson can really do with stopping that run that he's going on, because he's only 7 points ahead of the number 7 going into the final 2 rounds.
Yeah, so this has been an interesting fight, and looking forward to see how Fenson's actually going to perform. Normally, one of the best cars around this track is the McLaren. I know the Corvette we were talking about on the broadcast on the 8 hours sound to be very strong as well. It had to be a good performance car, the Ferrari as well, as timer runs out. I wonder to see how the split of the cars is actually going to be around on this grid.
And just at the very end, you will have seen it, Jared Keane has moved up to the top of the standing by just 0.02 of a second. So while we were watching William Fenson go close, he was 2 tenths slower than his previous best, round about where Israel Osborne was on that last lap as well. But Jared Keane just had something more to give, and it looks like he's got it on pole here for this race. We will see that pole lap, of course, in a little while, but this is Sully Sad making his way in. I can't see anybody improving as things stand. Christopher Ryanson is probably closest, but even he's backing off now, as far as I can see. Did Regan Chandler get over the line in time? Maybe he did. We'll see in the Corvette. But that looks like a late lap time there for Jared Keane to get into pole position. And we were talking of that championship fight, but that is obviously Keane not involved in the championship fight. He's way down in 20th place, but that does take a point off Israel Osborne that he would have got for taking pole, of course.
And everybody at this stage is going to be important if you think about it right now with how close is this championship, correct? So I wonder how the race will pan out for everyone.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting race indeed. When we get to it, 35 minutes here at Fuji, of course, to begin with. And then later on, the GT3 Sprint Series will be underway with 40 minutes on the clock for them. One of the briefing things at the start of the day, I do always read it just to get... Oh, is Israel Osborne? I didn't even know he was on a lap. Where's that come from? Israel Osborne has got to the pole position. Well, I've got no idea where that's come from, but Israel Osborne has taken the pole position. He's got a 140.0, and it turns out he will indeed get that at the very end. We've been watching Regan Chandler, who is... not improving, not going anywhere there, but Israel Osborne does get it at the very end. Well, that was a bit of a surprise there for Osborne, who has now taken what is his 6th pole in the PRL's history. That rather came out of nowhere.
I did not expect that to happen. I'm just as surprised as you are.
Very bizarre indeed. Only 140.0 of the session, and indeed he got the pole in the end. We will have a look at the lap and indeed the grid in the meantime, because warm-up is just about underway as things stand, and it is one of those circuits where we can fit both pole laps in if possible. So Israel Osborne is going to take us for a ride here at Fuji, and this is going to be the pole lap in the end, I believe, the very, very end of the session. And maybe one of the advantages of being here at the very end, of course, is that he didn't have anyone to negotiate, didn't have any traffic to deal with on this final lap here. We will see about that as we go through the lap, of course. But it's a very empty circuit, as the checker flag will be waving by this point. And Osborne has got some free track ahead of him finally to get this lap in. The lap eventually, of course, that ends up being pole with that Porsche spinning out the way in front of him.
Yeah, you can say that Israel's pole lap is not all without emotion, right? Not a one without emotion. At least he had something. Interested to see over here around the hairpin. Doesn't make usage of the full hairpin. Sometimes that banking outside the corner can be a little bit tricky for you to go outside, but he tried to make it the best usage possible with the way that he's going around the track, and still got a really good blistering lap.
Now this is into the final sector. Really unique compared to the other two, that's for sure. A lot less flowing, stop-start, and some real rises and falls as well, although mostly rises. They climb towards the line. This is through turns 14 and 15, and then through 16. Panasonic, you want to get a late apex here, and of course that big run onto the front straight, because it is a very, very, very long front straight indeed. So that will be something to watch out for, of course, in the race. His Ryan Osborne then takes the pole position in the pro order of the Hero GT3 Fixed Series. And in the AMs, it was Colin McKenzie. We didn't talk much about the AM standings, but McKenzie, of course, lost, or I should say gained points on Ryan Chandler and Thomas Rep, who really lost out last week. He beat Luke Davis and Pete Medger to the line. And so McKenzie is in form as things stand, and only 5 points behind Davis going into this penultimate round of the championship. That AM championship is going to be very, very interesting to watch, of course, because they score points on an overall basis, and that means they can lose points a lot quicker than they can in pro. Oh, meanwhile, sorry, I'm not looking at the screen. This is the starting grid for the race. Israel Osborne and Jared Keane start on the front, with William Fenson down in third place. Jeff Garford is fourth, exactly where he needs to be. McKenzie on pole in AM. He is fifth, ahead of Brett Furman in the sixth position. Row 4 is Sully Saab versus Andrew Trickett. That's an all-Porsche row, of course, with David Bushler third and Felix Belize rounding out the top 10. Pete Medger and Lucas Nguyen round out the top 6 rows. Then it is Luke Davis, who is currently on the top of the AM standings. Eric J. Hagen, Tyler Graff 14th and 15th. Then David Mawson, then Wardo Warden. Matt Sheriff is 18th in the order, with the rest of the top 20 rounded out by Regan Chandler and Ryan Chandler, who are sharing that road together. Sean Mulholland and Dino Vella are next, ahead of Christopher Rhines and Thomas Rep. It's really quite a long way down there in the AM Championship. Joel Pagero and Robert Jeffries on row 13, ahead of Ian Cabano and then Ryan Luna. Carson Quint and Kevin Bergquist round out the top 30, with Sam Smeltzer, Robert and Scott Jeffries, with Mark Bray not setting a time. Hopefully he gets onto the grid for the race at least. He will be going from 33rd if indeed he does at all. Tyler Graff in the YouTube chat, by the way, saying that his throttle pedal broke during practice and he got it fixed about 2 minutes before qualifying, so that might be one of the reasons why he's a little bit further down. But look for him to move forward in the race, maybe. Good that he's got it fixed though, just at the right time, of course, just in time for qualifying that has just finished now.
He's not the first driver. He actually had a pedal broken in Fuji this week or the past week. Yuri Kasdorp, when he won the 8 hours and he was doing officials, he actually broke one of his pedals. So I don't know if it is track, man. I think the track is cursed. We normally still talk about, the Japanese goats and the occult. Sometimes they like to talk about it. It's something big in Japan. So I wonder if the ghosts are lurking around the Fuji Speedway.
Yeah, it was a rather flimsy-looking pedal for Yuri Kasdorp by the end of the 8-hour race on Saturday, but still able to take the win, of course. Although he didn't take the car over the line, he did plenty of the driving along the way. Let's hope though that doesn't rear its head again for Tyler Graff a little bit later on, because that wouldn't be great news. That is the end of the warm-up session. And now we will get ourselves into the race. Another thing in the driver's briefing, by the way, was a note to take care in towards turn number 1. That is, I guess, something that we say every time before one of these races. However, even more so here at Fuji with such a tight hairpin to open the circuit.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a tricky one. It always invites for dive bombs. But I think with everybody, especially those guys, I would say top 10, are looking for fuel saving and try to measure each other's pace, especially to the ones within the top 3, as we look into the track conditions, right? Even extremely humid, but it's very cool at the early portions in the morning, 8:17 p.m. 68 Fahrenheit, so I would suggest about like 22 degrees, something like it, on that range. And the overcast is not going to help putting more heat into the track as it goes on into the day. So let's look forward to see who's going to be aggressive out of the gate, trying to move positions within like top 10, top 15, just to look for that pit stop that we're probably going to have somewhere at the end portion of the race.
Yeah, glad to say that it's a lot less foggy as well in the race, which is a good thing. We're starting about an hour later than was scheduled, actually, a virtual standard time in the sim. But as I mentioned, these last 3 rounds will all be held at the 1st of April rather than the real life date, or near to the real life date, as they were in the first 6 rounds of the season. So that might push temperatures up a little bit more, especially next week, where we'll be starting at 6:30 in the evening. That might well be sun going down sort of time. But we'll see about that, of course, in 7 days' time. The drivers make their way up towards the start-finish line then. It will be Israel Osborne versus Jarrett Keane on the front row. That very late lap time from Israel Osborne, able to get in pole position, and indeed the extra point that goes with it. He's now 6 points behind William Fenton going into this race. Let's see how he gets on along with everybody else as the PRL GT3 Fixed Series is about to get on the way for the penultimate time. Osborne gets the jump over the others. Jeff Coulthard makes a very good start actually from 4th position here, and already he moves past Jarrett Keane on the inside line. He's going through the middle here with William Fenton on the other side. Jarrett Keane's going nowhere. He's gone backwards in fact, and Coulthard tries to come back across him but can't quite. There's contact, more contact, and they get away with it. Jarrett Keane round the outside will hold on to 3rd place at least ahead of Jeff Coulthard. William Fenton slips up the inside of both of them, and through turn 1 everybody gets through cleanly.
And somehow I thought it would be that tree wide would cause a mass pile-up of cars going into turn number 1, but eventually they got away unscathed. We know at the back looks a little bit chaotic, going 3 wide right after turn number 3. Let's look how 100R will treat everyone first time around.
A number of looks down the inside, one of which was Chandler having a look there, but the top 10 or so are pretty much single file. Eric Terry-Hager's made a good start here. He's already inside the top 10 from 14th on the beginning here. Felix Feliz, his latest victim, and he is pushed outside the top 10 in the Corvette. There they stream down. Oh, Feliz gone round. Feliz has been hit round by Lucas Nguyen and getting involved as well as one of the McLarens, another one of the Porsches. Oh, it's happened. It didn't happen in towards turn number 1, but instead it was turn 10 where we've got a bit of a pile-up.
Yeah. Dunlop's delivering some chaos once again. So instead of being a 2-car full, it ended up being a 4 or 5 car fold on that one. And for those who already have like some lost bumpers, maybe some broken axles, well, your day is going to be a long one for you to try to recover, if you can recover that at all.
Absolutely. So closest to making a move on the way down towards turn number 1. Looks like Brett Furman was having a little bit of a look at cover, but can't quite do it. This is what happened. And Nguyen's coming from a long way back there, isn't he? And Felix Feliz is sort of spun in front of everybody in the middle of the road. Not a lot he can do, or indeed those behind him can do. It was Tyler Graff in the McLaren who got initially caught up with them. I think Robert Jeffries was the Porsche who had to stick behind them as well. And look at this. Oh, this is awkward on the outside. Kevin Berkquist was spun around as he was trying to go around the long way. This is Robert Jeffries. What he saw a bit, the concertina effect is quite wild. And it was he, in fact, who got into the back of everybody there. In towards turn 10. So this is what Tyler Graff saw. I mean, I bet he doesn't really have a choice here. There you go. Couldn't even see Philly's stop there.
Yeah, and then the contact is subsequently happening, and we're going to look into what happened to Andrew.
Oh yeah, that's just a couple of moments ago. Sorry, yeah, that's a couple of moments ago. Spin out of 100R, which we haven't seen very much of actually, but on the exit of the corner, just finding the inside wall.
Yeah, because there's a kind of like a very small crest as you try to go up. Oh, Keane. I've seen some. Here's the thing. I don't know if you've been watching as we look into what happened to Guerrero right at the Dunlop chicane as well. That empty cut curve on the outside of nets going into Panasonic. If you catch that the wrong way, if your car bounces once, there's a good chance your car is going to bounce twice and it's going to flip over. Fortunately, it didn't happen.
No. Oh dear, we could be seeing a a lot of movement in the background. Eric Terhagen in the bottom of his shot there, going down the inside of David Bush, the third, and this is Sheriff and Measure going side by side. Luke Davis watches on. He's the championship leader in Elm, of course, and needs to make up some places here. He's currently 7 behind Conor McKenzie, and as things stand, the two of them would be separated by just 2 points in McKenzie's favour if the race were to end right now going into that last race. But Davis needs to gain some places from somewhere. Pete Measure also trying to, as Matt Sheriff was weaving all over the place there with him on the front straight, that time in towards turn 1. Again, a look from the inside there. Measure couldn't quite do it. Here comes Luke Davis.
And the Ferrari just outside having a little bit of a better grip, right? Coming out of the corner. It's just that corner is a little bit tricky for you to take on, as the McLaren just getting heavily defensive around the Dunlop chicane.
And Ryan Chandler getting round the outside of him and through. Ryan Chandler goes through. So Luke Davis now in a bit of a Chandler sandwich. Just, spinning goes Pete Measure right in the middle of the road, and everybody avoids him, thankfully, initially here anyway. There's a long, that was close.
Oh, that was close.
Careful. This is the spin, and well done to everyone for avoiding him there, because that was very close indeed. Meanwhile, Jeff Cofford and Jared King go side by side. The Porsche not strong in a straight line particularly, even with a friend to help behind. Brett Furman trying to push Jared King, but the Ferrari is still more powerful on the way towards turn 1, and that is Jeff Cofford up into 3rd place.
Yeah, I think the Porsche on the fixed setup is a little bit weaker in comparison to frontline speed in comparison to the Ferrari. The Ferrari is able to suck more the dirty air in the straight and is able to overtake the Porsche a little bit easier. But it's not a bad choice. I'll tell you, it's a very well-rounded choice for fixed setups around this track. I saw a lot of guys on top splits using the Porsche just because of how nimble the car is and it's well planted, right, and also has some really good fuel efficiency. So well, maybe it's like Keen and Thurman might have a plan on their hands if they're not, we're not going to waste a lot of fuel right here. We're going to play the long game, maybe get a lap on everybody else and use that overcut whenever we come into the pit stop to our advantage and gain some track position.
Thomas Rep, I'm afraid, has had an incident on this last lap, by the way. He is 4th place currently in the AM Championship, and as things stand, this would leave him requiring an overall podium next week. That is looking very unlikely now indeed. Can't really see what happened to him there. He just seemed to pull off the road to the left-hand side and retire. Now, did he have any suspension damage or something prior to that? I'm not entirely sure. It didn't especially look like it, but that's a real shame for Thomas Rep, who has seemingly, at the very least, had a long pit stop to add to his race, if not retired entirely, and that could be the end of his charge for the championship there with that very incident.
Yeah, which would be a shame, especially considering the final round doesn't have drop points.
Yeah, exactly. Also, the fact that Thomas Rep and his drop points at the moment, 16 points. So that's all he'd be scoring, with McKenzie and Davis all up in the 30s and 40s as things stand. You can do the maths. That's going to at least double his his deficit, I should say, for Thomas Rep. This is, meanwhile, the battle for 3rd place overall. Jeff Cofford leads the 2 Porsches of Jared Keane and Brett Furman, with Colin McKenzie just in behind. McKenzie's very much minding his own business here in the lead in AM, but that's Jared Keane going wide, and that's an easy position for his teammates, Brett Furman.
Yeah. I wonder if King's actually really struggling with the race setup than we initially expected, right? Because he's getting so much understeer coming out of the corners, or he's pushing his tires a little bit much, that he's just losing half of the process. Especially, let's just say, he was right behind Kaufhold, and right now the gap is really extended over a second. If he loses that toe, that it can get really, really dangerous for him, and might open the door for McKenzie to make an overtake and spice up the AM championship.
It's always an interesting championship, I find, in the AMs. Always so interesting because of how many positions you can put between the different drivers, and that obviously gets you some more points. Less possible to do that really in pro, as It all gets very close on the way down towards turn number 1 again. Is Terry Hart just pushing Sully South there? He certainly is on the way down in towards turn number 1. So maybe a bit of working together here from 7th place. It didn't look like fuel saving to me, but maybe working together between the Porsche and the Mustang to try and get a bit closer to that battle for 3rd place.
Yeah, let me just take a quick look on the laps right here for Haag and Saad. The problem is Saad is not pushing as fast as he wants to within that Porsche, but Thurman's lap, King's lap, Mackenzie's lap was about 41 mids, so that helped the situation a little bit for them. About 3/10 faster than an average than this 3-car group in front, so it might allow to make this a 5-car group. It's just a matter of now ETH is saving a little bit of fuel, no complaint over there, and doing really good within that Mustang that normally it would be a car that would be strong for other tracks, but not for Fuji, and is doing really good work in it.
I'm not sure if it's just been an almighty battle, but my timing screen is showing me at the moment Ian Cabana and Carson Quint having lost a load of time. It could just be the fact they might have been going side by side through the opening sector of the lap, to be honest, because you can lose a lot of time. They are currently fighting way down in 22nd position. Some of those who were caught up in the opening incidents are fighting on back there, but none really race contending or championship contending. This is the battle. It probably was just going side by side rather than an incident itself. Nobody looks damaged to me in the final corner at the moment, so I think they're all okay, and they'll come over the line completely nose to tail. Thomas Rep has made his way back out onto the circuit again, but he is a lap down, and Tyler Gaffin for Leeds look like they might well retire from this race, to be honest. They've already been voicing their disdain in the Discord, and they are both very disappointed to be out this race on lap 1, and you can absolutely see why.
Understandable. Not too much you can do there. That's the risk of you.
Sorry.
I was going to say that's the risk of you kind of like starting right in the back. Oh.
Ryan Chandler. He is 3rd in the championship, by the way, in the AMS. He's just 7 points behind. He's lost it on his own. Goodness me, that's a big spin. He's somewhat lucky to avoid the wall.
Yeah, from what it looks like, he caught a little bit of the curve coming out of Coca-Cola corner, and that offset the rear of the Corvette right there. Luckily for him, like you said, avoided the wall. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. He's not got any damage, but he is down the field now. He's down to 21st. That would be 15 points lost to Mackenzie. He'll be 17 behind him going into the final race if things stay as they are. That could be as many as 17 positions he need to gain in the next race. That would be tricky, although at the moment he's losing 15, so you can see how easily it can fall apart for anybody here in the field. He's been dropping himself straight back into that fight we were just watching a few moments ago, involving the likes of Ian Cabana and Carson Quint, who, as I mentioned, were going side by side lap or 2 ago. Now, this is all a big group for 20th place. Scott Jeffries at the front of it. Oh, as they chase each other very nearly into the pit lane. Ian Cabana comes in, and there's a first bit of miscommunication with the first bit of pit stops now coming in. Just 5 minutes short of the halfway mark.
Interesting.
Meanwhile, Colin McKenzie drops down the order. I told you it could change very quickly indeed, and he's made an error. He's made an error, the AM leader. He still leads the class, but he's down to 9th place. Through 100R, there has been an error, either self-inflicted or indeed helped along by somebody. I don't know, but Colin McKenzie has dropped down the field. He's now down to 9th, just 3 positions ahead of Luke Davis, who, as things stand, would retain the championship lead in this situation.
Yeah, but he's faster than David Bush, so from the way the car is looking, it looks like more of a driver mistake than a assisted mistake. So we can still, I think Colin just can calm down, recollect, and push on because this race pace is really good. You just have to avoid the anti-cat curbs that normally provide jump scares to people.
Yeah, so in some cases quite literally as well on that occasion. We'll see what happened to him in a few minutes' time. But Colin McKenzie down to 9th. Meanwhile, Cofford and Keane go side by side. Finally, the Porsches have got their act together to give it a go in towards turn number 1, but it's not happening this time round. Jeff Cofford able to hang on in a race he really needs to win, to be honest, ahead of Osborne and Benson. But right now, it looks like it is between those top two for the lead. It's Cofford hanging on ahead of the Porsches just for the moment. He survives that first attack.
But you can see Keane's lines are a little bit more aggressive. He's trying to get a little bit more speed out of the corners to try to find a spot to attempt an overtake. But for now, there's no space open. He's not going to have one here at Dunlop.
This is where I'd imagine the Porsche to be really strong, actually, and try and fire down the inside. So let's have a look, meanwhile, on board with Colin McKenzie, because this is a race and potentially championship-changing incident. Oh, it's very similar to Ryan Chandler's incident, I've got to say. He rejoins, slides. Goodness, I don't know what took him so long to gather it up, actually, that the car was continuing to slide as he was going around 100R. Ben eventually got it together. Meanwhile, Jared Keane's past Jeff Cofford, and Brett Furman is going to push him to seal the deal. They're going to go free wide, in fact, down towards turn 1.
I didn't expect to see that in my books.
And look at Cofford on the outside in the Ferrari. He is flying in a straight line again. The Porsches, though, hold the two inside lines. And it's Brett Furman who goes through. Jared Keane next. Furman gets a big slide. And Keane will come back at his teammate here. Jeff Cofford will be forced to watch as the Porsches battle for third. And Jared Keane is back, but no, he goes for a big spin. He's flown it into turn 3, and he's across the middle of the circuit, right in front of Sully Sad and Terry Hug, who just about avoid him.
Don't know what I can say there, even.
Just too fast. It wasn't a lot to that, really, was it? It was just too fast entering turn 3 for sure.
Speed kills.
And thankfully, the smoke screen he threw up right in front of Sully Sad and Eric Terry Hard didn't cause a secondary incident. As meanwhile, Regan Chandler gets onto the back of Luke Davis here. He won't be going anywhere. A few breaths of sighs of relief, I should say, will be ringing around at the moment inside that top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. That has changed everything. But I know Keane is going to be frustrated with that. Imagine being relegated from like 3rd place all the way back into 14th place, losing about 10 seconds in the process. So it's a bummer, but still a long race ahead. So he can try to make up a few places up. He's already looking to try to overtake Matt Scherf right in front of him, try to chase down that back air. I have a pun, but I'm not gonna throw that.
Still too early.
I know.
In towards turn 1 for Luke Davis and Regan Chandler. This is 2nd and 3rd in the AM race, I should say, at the moment. Luke Davis would be retaining his championship lead as a result of that spin, or half spin, collection of a spin, whatever you want to call it, for Colin McKenzie a few laps ago. We are now officially at halfway, by the way. 17.5 minutes gone. Jared Keane looking to make up some of those positions back again after that spin at turn number 3, just before these pit stops get into full swing.
Because for now, I think for now, Keane's is just now. I wonder if the rears of the car, the grip over the rears, is kind of like halfway gone with that spin. He's still going to be a little bit better. I think the guys in front, but you can see he's overcommitting to the corners a little bit. So he's, missing the braking zone, or he's overcommitting to the rotation of the car, and that puts stress on the wheels. So I think right now Keane, I know he has pace in comparison to like Scherf and UN in front of him. It's just staying calm and do not overdrive the car, because the Porsche will eventually give you that speed and that acceleration and grip, especially in the twisty sections.
Yeah, I think those tyres have taken a bit of a beating though, unfortunately, in that big spin we saw a few moments ago. Eric Turihard, meanwhile, is just staying in behind Sully Sad, and at the moment, not intending to go through. They've moved up over place, of course, with Jared Keane spinning, so they're now fighting for 5th, where it was previously 6th, but Turihard has not attempted to make a move just yet in this battle for now 5th position. Sully Sad just up ahead, and just behind them, David Bush the third. He's not actually very far behind them either in the Audi. I'll just be able to catch a glimpse of him in the mirror. No, not quite there on that occasion. He's very close in behind indeed. So the Audi will be looking for a way through here as well, but with just over 15 minutes to go, pit stops will be very much upon us. Regan Chandler just came in from third in AB, for example, and these cars do not go that much further than the halfway mark traditionally. We certainly saw that last week at Watkins Glen. So let's see how long they leave it. Can't imagine it's going to be very long now.
No, I think we're going to be seeing maybe at best about 5 more minutes into the fuel range of these cars, right? It's good to see Eric doing really good job on this loan for Mustang this GT3 Fixed season, right? And holding that 5th, 6th spot. Of course, there's David Bush chasing right behind him, and Colin McKenzie who's trying to give chase this ball, and seeing also ETH's race is better than what the coach for Manchester United has done in about 2 seasons. It's like my Manchester United PTSD is kicking on me sometimes.
It's been quite something to get my head around this season, I must admit. That
yeah. It's hard, mate. It's hard.
Yes. Jared Keane, meanwhile, has got past Matt Sherfin towards turn 1, or has he? It looks like that is continuing. It is. And Keane will have some flashbacks, I'd imagine, from turn 3 last time around, or indeed a few laps ago. So he doesn't decide to go for it quite on that occasion there. I would imagine he'll be laying off, flying in towards turn 3 quite in the same manner for the rest of the race now after that spin. It knocks your confidence so much having something like that happen to you, and so Jared Keane's going to be very careful now in the remainder of the race through there.
I wonder if also the confidence took a little bit of a beating coming in from like third, second place and being dipped all the way back into 4th and not being able to, you know, get those positions back. And when you have the opportunity, you kind of like blunder it of sorts, right? That takes a confidence beating of sorts for any driver, even drivers at the top level, right? Get really frustrated and try the different things, and normally it doesn't pan out for them. Of course, the skill level for a guy like, for example, like Yuri Kasdorp or Thomas Ornhard or something like that is completely different from, I'll say, from Keane, right? By racing into top level racing makes a little bit of have a little bit more awareness than everybody else, but still frustration is universal regardless of how many Ks of iRacing that you have.
And there's plenty of them in this field, that's for sure. Out of turn number 1 for Sully Sad and Eric Turihard. Race just calming down for the next couple of moments while we wait for those pit stops still to come. Still plenty of laps to go here, by the way. Probably 7 at the end of this one for the leaders. So we are looking at a 21 lap race, very possibly, and we are not quite resolved yet in the lead either. It's Dry Osborne versus William Fenson is still very much ongoing. As Osborne, of course, with the point for pole position so far. Fenson has the fastest lap as things stand, and that comes with a point as well. As things stand, the gap will be down to 4 points between the two of them at the end of the day going into that final race. But it's such a momentum builder for Israel Osborne again to get 4 in a row. That would be extraordinary if he can just hang on here in these last 12 minutes or so as they go up towards the line. We'll see whether they will pit this time round.
Yeah, but so far right now the gap between them is 0.6 of a second. If I'm Osborne, I'm not relaxing, you know. There could be a chance of, for example, Fenson going a lot extra and getting the overcut on you. especially with the fact that everything can kick off as now Osborne is in the pit lane. So the important moments are happening in this race.
Osborne is in, Furman's in, Sully Sad is in, but not everybody's in. We're still waiting for a few more drivers to make their way down pit lane here. Colin McKenzie goes around again. Most of his AM rivals are in. Luke Davis comes in from second. Regan Chandler's already been in. Dino Vella stays out, but David Morse is in. This is the pit stop for Israel Osborne. Crucial stop, one of the most crucial of the season. The Ferrari goes up on the jacks, but it will be only brief, of course. The pit stop time's very minimal here. Just 9.6 seconds in the box. Now he comes out. He needs to make sure he's in clean air, and is he? Carson Quint is not that far in front. He needs a good outlap here, does Israel Osborne.
2 seconds is really good for Osborne. It's basically a clean track. What surprised me though is he has gone for tires. Maybe one tire. I think he had it time enough for just maybe one. I was gonna say left side tire. So that surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, but not unheard of these days. I mean, fuel and tyres at the same time, sadly, means that it is possible. So, so there you go.
For the sadness of a Jurna Kankipati.
And me.
I think everybody else. I'm personally not a fan as well. So.
Yeah. Exactly. Just less than 10 minutes to go then, and William Fenton is now in. Expecting to see everybody else in. That will include the top, 11 who are still out there at the moment, including some others as well. Pete Merger is still out, for example. But where are these lot going to filter their way through? Fenton leads them in. And it's a real traffic jam in the background. Keane behind Sheriff and Engwin. They're really closely. Dino Vella and Ryan Luna will be in as well. But what's this pit stop time for Fenton? He does not go up on the jacks. Looking at 9.6 seconds here. It has been a clean outlap for Osborne, but has it been quick? There goes Fenton. A little bit quicker in the box. Now then, where is Israel Osborne? He's nowhere to be found at the moment. Up in the top right of your screen, William Fenton has got into the lead of this race by going one lap further and doing a little bit less time in the pit lane. He's got out in the lead.
I figured that Fenton would come out in the lead. The question is how big the lead was going to be.
2 seconds. I mean, surely with only 6 laps to go, 2 seconds is too big of a margin for Israel Osborne to cross.
Unless that tire actually makes a really good effect on that Ferrari.
Yeah, but I mean,
I don't think it will.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. I mean, it's surely difficult to see that one tyre would make so much of a difference in the last 6 laps of this race.
If this was like a hotter race, for example, put it like 30 Celsius degrees or between 30 to 30 plus Celsius degrees on the track, then I would say one tire actually makes a whole lot of difference. You can like be at least 2-3 tenths of a second faster on a lap average than your opponents that might have seen just as more equipment as you did, but the rubber situation is different than yours.
Well, this looks like William Fenton really taking back control of this Pro Drivers' Championship here. He still holds the fastest lap, of course, and right now would be extending the margin to 10 points at the end of the day. We'll see where Dino Vella comes out. It should be behind the others in AM, which means Luke Davis should hang on to the championship lead there by a point as things stand, but there's still some time left. Jared Keane and Matt Sheriff going side by side. Meanwhile, for ninth place, it's already got past Lucas Nguyen has Jared Keane. Now he's looking for Matt Sheriff as well, looking for the cutback in the McLaren. Can't quite do it. Down the hill they'll go in towards turn 3. Jared Keane will hang on, and he's back into ninth place now. Well, That is ninth then for Jared Keane. And just on the back of this train, Luke Davis is defending from Regan Chandler. But Ryan Chandler is down in 18th place now after that spin earlier on. He has pitted, by the way. He's recovered quite well into 18th, but that would still lose him another 6 points to Luke Davis, who put him 13 behind the championship leader, and now going into the final day as things stand. Conor McKenzie, as I say, would be just 1 point behind as things stand. It is very, very close indeed, but Luke Davis, for that little bit of a psychological advantage maybe to hold on by a point into that championship lead, needs to stay ahead of Regan Chandler in these final 4 laps of the race.
Yeah, every point is important right here, man, and so far, as long as you're applying pressure on your competitors in going to the final round and basically putting the pressure on them for them to perform, that's all you want, because your job is just put your car on the track and try to get it as fast as you can, or the best way you can towards the end of the race.
Towards turn 1, Chandler was slightly to the inside, but nothing too threatening really. This is the battle for one of the highest places in the field now. There's not too many more going on up ahead of these two as things stand with just over 5 minutes to go. It looks like, I mean, we were talking about it a little bit before, whether there will be fuel saving in this race and whether it was long enough. It looks like pit strategy may well have decided the race winner of this one, if William Fenton, of course, can hang on to that 2-second lead.
Lap 1 of their clean second stint has actually been towards Osborne, but the difference is ridiculous. It's like 0.005 of a second that were separated between Fenton's lap to Osborne's lap. Like 0.005 of a second is not going to be effective for a 7-minute race that you have against your opponent, and potentially 7 and 6 laps that you have left in this race. So you need more. You need way more than that for you to get into the front. And so far, Osborne is struggling.
That was a real slide from Luke Davis out of the penultimate corner through turn 15. And Regan Chandler closes in as a result here in the Corvette. You can see Davis almost looking in his mirrors from here. You can see that he's doing it. Meanwhile, Matt Scherf just up ahead will be looking in his too, because the Audi of Lucas Nguyen is right in behind it, weaving around as the Audi quite got the legs. It's got the lights, that's for sure. It's blasting them on the way down towards turn 1, but not close enough. And so Matt Scherf holds on to 10th place. That's the battle, of course, for the last place inside the top 10, and Matt Scherf is winning that battle at the moment. Jared Keane, meanwhile, is just coming up to some lap traffic. That is not Conor McKenzie, who currently is looking pretty comfortable in 8th place and the AM lead.
Yeah, and plus Colin has no one to race against, so he just has to focus putting the car on the track and getting towards the end. That is another factor.
Just 2 laps to do that now, with 3 minutes to go. Go ahead.
Even tell me if I might be wrong, but doesn't look front right bumper looks a little bit dent.
Yeah, I think it is.
From lap 1, maybe?
Yeah. Or has he had a spin somewhere else? I don't think he has had a spin somewhere else. I think it must be due to lap 1. These are the live standings, by the way, that Hugo's been vigorously typing away in the background to show us those. Yeah, I think you're right. There is some damage to front right there, but I don't know where it's come from specifically.
I think it's from lap 1 on that incident on Dunlop. I think he basically caught his car on the wrong spot. But and that's why I think it's favoring Chandler a little bit, for him to, you know, have some frontline speed advantage coming out of the corners. But he's not kind of like matching what the Ferrari's doing on a long straight, even though now Chandler is putting the car on the inside.
Here he goes. This could double the advantage, or indeed tie it up, I should say, for Davis and McKenzie going into the last round. Davis round the outside, needing to hang on here into the penultimate lap, by the way. He's hung on this time round, but that's an early warning sign from Chandler. This is not going to be an easy ride to the finish now for Luke Davis.
Yeah, I had to lift, but look at Davis just going wide around 100R. So that is going to waste a little bit more rubber. Might add a little bit more here to the heat to the tires coming out of the corner. You can even see he's struggling a little bit coming out of the corner, looking, struggling for grip. Might open the door for Chandler to look for something around Dunlop, but I don't think he's going to have the overlap.
Not a chance in towards turn 10 this time. Oh, he's got wide though. Davis makes a mistake of his own into the 10th corner of the track, and here goes Chandler off the inside. That's a lap car just behind them, by the way. He can't lose 2 in 1. It's just going to be side by side between them in the final sector. This is important for Davis, who holds the inside line. Chandler wanted to come back under him there, but he couldn't do it into 15. He's sliding all over the place. The Ferrari is uncomfortable here. He goes over the curb, and Luke Davis loses 12th position, but more importantly, he loses his championship lead here at Fuji, and as a result of a better finishing position, a better best finish from Colin McKenzie that was scored last time out at Watkins Glen, where he finished in 5th place, he would be the championship leader going into the last round, and Davis is weaving around trying to get this place back again.
Wow. Remember when I told you what that 100R did to the tires?
Yeah.
Put the heat, put the grip, loss. He would eventually struggle with the car, and this time, as the time runs out, you know, was the undoing of Luke Davis right there in the championship shift for the final round.
There's been some big championship shifts here in Pro and Am. William Fenton here, making sure he knows what he needs to do to win the title in just 7 days' time. His gap will be 10 points if things stay as they are here. Ahead of his Ryan Osborne, has pushed him all the way, but his free win streak is going to come to an end. Fenton is going to win his 3rd of the season and his 1st since round number 4 at Barcelona. William Fenton is going to strategize his way to victory here at Fuji in the PRL GT3 Fixed Series. A great and important win for him, and now he knows that he needs a top 4 next week, and he will be crowned champion of this series as Colin McKenzie comes through in the final sector as well in the AM standings. He will be tied with Davis on points going into the last round. Colin McKenzie wins here at Fuji, and now it's a straight fight between McKenzie and Davis. Whoever finishes ahead of the other in 1 week's time will be the champion in the AM class.
A traditional mano-a-mano battle coming into Sebring. I couldn't think of a better track, in my opinion, to have a mano-a-mano battle.
Well, I could.
Well, it's because you hate Sebring.
I know.
I forgot about that, and that's why you're on the no-fly list to the United States, and especially around Sebring.
I've been sanctioned by them. This is Ian Cabana just missing out on getting Pete Messier at the end. By the way, Messier was also an outside involvement for the championship earlier on today, but that finish down there unfortunately will put him probably too far back, although you do never know. And there go over over the line some of the damaged cars who were caught up in incidents earlier on. That was Scott Jeffries ahead of Andrew Trickett, both of whom were delayed today. William Fenton wins ahead of his Ryan Osborne with that great strategy, with Brett Furman making it 3 different manufacturers on the podium. Jeff Kofod sees his realistic championship chances ebb away today with a 4th place finish. Eric Toy-Hawk moves up ahead of Tyler Craft with that top 5 finish, ahead of David Bushford, the first of the Audis, finished ahead of Sully Sad. Then it was Colin McKenzie who won in AM, ahead of Jared Keane and Matt Scherf in 9th and 10th. 11th was Lucas Nguyen, with Regan Chandler getting ahead of Luke Davis at the end. David Morse was 4th in the AM class, ahead of Waldo Warden 15th overall. It was Dino Vella next, ahead of Ryan Chandler, who drops down in the AM Championship today, but by no means out of the picture quite yet. He's 11 points behind going into the last round. Christopher Ryan, Joel Pagero and Ryan Luna round out the top 20. In 21st, it was Carson Quint ahead of Pete Messier and Ian Cabana, the last drivers within a minute of the win. Robert Jeffries, Kevin Berkvist, Scott Jeffries and Andrew Trickett round out those on the lead lap, with Sam Smeltzer and Thomas Rep losing 1 lap. Sean Mulholland finished 9 laps down at the end, as did Tyler Graff, I believe, who did get out towards the end. Not sure whether he completed enough laps to score points or not, but he'll be hoping so. Felix Belize and Mark Bray, in all likelihood, did not. Let's have a chat to William Fenton, who is a race winner again for the time since round 4. Congratulations, William. It was a strategical race, let's say. Just what were you expecting going into that pit stop cycle? Did you know that you had that sort of time gain in you throughout that cycle?
I didn't think that much. I don't know if you ran into traffic when he pitted the lap earlier, but yeah, it worked out really good. I even had half a litre left.
It wasn't particularly traffic for Israel Osborne. I've got to say it was a pretty clear outlap from what we saw. Don't know, we didn't see all of it, but yeah, it looked pretty clear to me. I mean, what does this do now for you going into the final round? You've extended that championship margin, of course, to 10 points, and you now know that I believe a top 5 actually might be good enough for you to seal the title anywhere in the top 5 next week. How are you feeling about that going into Sebring?
Well, that makes me feel pretty good. I was worried this week because if Azariah took another clean sweep, it would have made next week really hard. But that sounds like it puts me in it gives me a bit of a buffer. I'll still go out there and try to take the win, but we'll see.
We will. Good luck for that, of course. But first of all, congratulations tonight, and thanks for coming to chat to us as well.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much. William Fenton there, the race winner in Pro and overall, ahead of Israel Osborne, who also now joins us. Welcome, Israel, and congratulations on pole and second place here tonight. I mean, how are you feeling after that race to be beaten at the line by just less than a second?
Actually, that race felt pretty good. I crashed out the last time we came here to Fuji, and Fuji's never really been my strong suit. So to finish second, I'll take that as a win. He did get me in the fuel saving department, but I mean, you win some, you lose some. I learned a lot from this one, so yeah, this was a really good one. Congrats to William Fenton for sure.
And you've certainly been doing a lot of winning recently as well, with 3 on the bounce going into this. As I just said to William Fenton, I believe anyway, he only requires a top 5 to win the title next week. How are you feeling about Sebring and what that might bring in the championship finale?
Well, I love Sebring, but the Ferrari hit Sebring so far. And so far, as far as William, I feel like he's got this wrapped up. I mean, he's been a consistent top 3 so far. So, yeah, I mean, it'll have to be a freak accident for him to be knocked out of it for sure.
All right, well, we'll see. We'll see indeed. Congratulations on second place and pole tonight, Israel, and thanks for coming to chat to us as well.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Israel Osborne there, second place tonight overall, ahead of Brett Furman, who finishes in 3rd. Congratulations, Brett, on a podium finish here tonight. I want to talk a little bit about that battle with Jared Keane, who was you going alongside with, and somebody else as well. You were 3 wide at one point going towards turn number 1. You must have, well, I don't know. Did you enjoy the battle?
I thought that was an epic battle. I had a lot of fun. Jared and I both had a great time on that one.
Yeah, it certainly looked like a lot of fun. And 3rd place here at Fuji. Were you expecting that? How were you feeling going into this round?
I was hoping for a top 5 or a top 6. I did not expect to be on the podium tonight, but I'm certainly happy to be here.
Absolutely. Congratulations on your first podium of the season here tonight at Fuji, and thanks for coming to chat to us as well.
All right, guys, thanks for all you do, and thanks, Jared, for helping me get ready. So see you next time.
Thanks very much, Brett Verman there, the 3rd place driver overall. The AM winner now can join us as well. Colin McKenzie won the AM class tonight and, of course, made some strides in the championship, which we'll talk about as well. But first of all, on the race, Colin, it's a top 10 for you again. You're stringing together quite a good run of results now in these last 3 rounds. How was this one in particular at Fuji tonight?
Feels good, especially after a big scare around lap 8 to just be able to still bring it home in the top 10 and fortunately take P1 AM. So feels really good, especially after last week, start stringing them together.
It was a huge scare as well, and it seemed to be a spin that almost wanted to go on forever. Just what was going on in the car at that point?
Yeah, I just got unsettled, and I think I was still trying to put a little too much steering angle in before I slowed down enough. And thank God, whoever paved all that runoff, God bless him, because that's what really helped me out. But just super glad to still be able to finish without any damage.
And just one last quick one, I should say. We believe, according to our maths, you're tied with Luke Davis going into the last round, with Chandler maybe 11 points behind, something like that. But effectively, winner takes all between yourself and Luke Davis. How are you feeling about that going into Sebring?
It's going to be really fun. Two teammates going at it. Luke's one of my good buddies, so it's going to be real fun. Winner take all next week.
We look forward to it. Congratulations on the win tonight, Colin, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks very much, Colin McKenzie there, the winner in AM. That's it for the PRL GT3 Fixed Series. We'll be live, of course, same time, same place next week with the final round of the season coming to you live from Sebring, of course. But that is not all from Fuji Speedway. Here tonight, the PRL GT3 Sprint Series is coming up next. Still 40 minutes of racing to come tonight in the PRL. It's the GT3 Sprint Series here live on RaceSpotTV with myself, Ian Leary and Lorenzo Bonda. We have had a fantastic opening race of the evening, but now time for the guys who like tinkering with setups. They are already going and nearly 2 seconds quicker, and this is how they're standing going into the race. Francois Trepanier leads by just 5 points ahead of his teammate Simon Theriault, with David Holland and Jaden Comright tied for third. It is Emmett Lindqvist who rounds out the top 5 after missing last week, with Sean Dickinson just in behind. Conor Wagner only another further point back, with Jason Allen, Luke Wallace and Elliot Budzinski rounding out the rest of the top 10. In the AM standings, we've currently got Matthew Prowess leading the way by just 8 points ahead of Chris Long and 11 ahead of Steve Baker. Then it's a bit of a gap back to Miles Brown, who's pretty secure in 4th. A big battle for 5th is developing as well, with Chris Stewart, Richard Cerveda, Wesley Price, Carl Robertson and Adam Henwood all separated by 7 points. Peter Moller holds the last spot inside the top 10. In the team standings, it is 130 points in favour of Advanced Motorsports, who've pretty much sewn it up now. Fildernet Racing are fighting off Solpec and SCR for third, with LSTT Yellow rounding out the rest of the top 5. SCR 1 in 6th place, and up front Motorsports with Drivetrain Motorsport, SRT Unit Simsports, and Drop Bear Motorsport rounding out the top 10. That's how the team standings are looking going into this round of the championship. And as you can see, Trepanier and Theriault are 1 and 2 in the qualifying session as things stand right now as well. Trepanier, of course, dropping his previous round as a result of finishing a little bit far down at Watkins Glen. It was, where did he finish in the end? 16th place, of course, and well away from the lead after a very bizarre but dramatic spin at the final corner with only a couple of laps to go. Just 5 points separating those guys. Of course, 3 drivers separated by 11 in the AM standings. We've got a similarly close championship, but it's been the story of the season, really. Trepanier and Theriault 1 and 2 in this qualifying session as well right now.
Yeah, they've been the class of the field so far, and I think not many guys were able to, match what they were doing basically all season long, right? That's why eventually they are P1 and P2 in the championship. I'm not going to say the main fights with them because there's still guys mathematically fighting against them, but they've been so far ahead of their competition that it's hard for you to make a statement of, who could be the outside factor to break them apart. It's kind of like, it goes back to what we were talking about the NASCAR Cup, like when Gabriel Perry seemed to be invincible, right? There was no chink in his armor. Eventually, the guys from the private label team Hype found something, right? And they managed to, and James O'Brien managed to win the championship. So I wonder who's going to find that chink in the armor of the Advanced Motorsport guys and break them apart. Because from what it looks like, at this point in the championship, there's none of them were able so far.
It's already been a very dramatic championship finale week. Of course, we've still got one more to go here next week, so make sure you join us again for the GT3 series, because that is running 1 week longer because of the election that was on a Tuesday night. So we are going to be running 1 week longer at the end of the season as well. That means we'll be live again, same time, same place from Sebring in 1 week's time. But as you say, we've already had a couple of championship finales. Abner Acosta was just less than a tenth of a second effectively away from a title at Atlanta Motor Speedway in the NASCAR Cup Series on Sunday night. Boris Antonobando won last night by just 8 points ahead of Michael Diaz, and Aidan Young won the race last night in GT4 to see off Aaron Myers by 9 points. So that is already 3 championships secured by less than 10 points as things stand. We'll see if that remains in the Truck Series tomorrow, but it's looking like we could maybe get all championships sealed by less than 10 points. I feel like, though, the GT3 series could ruin that with some very big gaps at the front of GTP especially. On board with Simon Terrio, is he going any quicker to really overhaul those ahead of him? Not entirely sure for the moment, not convinced. He's got 2 attempts to get to Trapanier as well. Jeden Conright's going pretty well. He's 9th at the moment, but is improving as far as I can see. Maybe. We'll see if he actually does a little bit later on. But again, everybody seemingly hitting their limit as there's a big slipstream now for Terrio. Will that finally allow him to get near Trapanier? The top 2 teammates helping each other along, and indeed he does get a bit closer to his teammate. But it is, very close to his teammate as well. Just less than a tenth, but not quite good enough. Trapanier looks like he's taking pole here.
Yeah, I think having a little bit more clean air helped you out in the circumstance. Basically, the speed that you're going to get and going a little bit faster on that might be on the straight line. As we look into David Holland, one of the third wheels in this championship, especially in the battle inside the top 5 round, being relegated to P13 on that Delta Sport car. So I wonder if he has pace to find something else in here.
Over the line, and he does. 9th, and just ahead of Comright, who he's tied on points with in that battle for 4th place. There's Ethan Bass with another Mustang right behind him. Not sure who, but he was towing somebody around there. Bass currently 11th in the standings. Orbit dropped by Motorsport, of course, 10th in the teams as things stand. There's Luke Wallace, just in behind the 2 AMs, by the way, Matthew Brewer and Steve Baker, who at the moment are separated by 11 points. They're also separated by just 1 position on the track here in the AMs. Chris Long isn't here today, unfortunately, and because of his drop score, he'll effectively score 16th place points. So that's where you're looking to see where Chris Long is going to filter himself out next week. We'll keep an eye on that going into the next round. Of course, coming up next week, there is Wallace over the line. Don't think he quite improves. Doesn't look like we've had many improvements over the line here. And so that looks like it's pretty much going to be it for the qualifying session. And it's another Advanced Motorsports 1-2. Well, let's see with the checkered flag flying what the grid is going to look like here for this race. Don't believe anybody's still going to surprise us with a lap time this time round, so we will be able to get the grid a little bit sooner. 40 minutes, of course, on the clock, ready for this race. A pit stop will be included, pretty similarly to like what we just saw with the Fixed Series. Of those, by the way, down the bottom end, unfortunately, Chris Stewart didn't set a time, so hopefully that means he will still be starting the race. Of course, that didn't mean they'll be starting the race, unfortunately, down in the Fixed Series. You've got 32 to start there. If indeed we do get Stewart, it will be 27 to the start of the race this time around, which is a little bit less, of course, but a bit more than we had last week. So that is good to see. Let's go on board with Vincent Trapanier and see just how, indeed, he go quickly around here at Fuji in yet another pole lap for him. He is currently taking on board with his 5th pole position of the season here in the PRL GT3 Sprint Series. Through the fast right-hander of turn 3, high speed, high downforce required, then the long left side tyre shredding right-hander of 100 on, then steeply on the brakes into the hairpin. Switching back on yourself before that long run in towards Dunlop. And as I said in the pole lap of the Pro Series, or the Fixed Series, I should say, it's noticeably different.
Interesting.
Final sector to the last to the first two.
Not only that, but did you notice the short shift between 5th and 6th coming down the hill?
Yeah. Yeah, very bizarre actually. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that on a pole lap before, not for some time anyway. It's pretty weird.
I think I want to believe this maybe is to avoid the wheel spin, especially if you are on the high revs and because you're probably going to be into high revs at the bottom of the hill coming into the Dunlop chicane. I think you kind of like mitigate that and just throw it down into low revs to have a little more stability under braking, but that might be just imagination.
Well, because of the time, I thought that Trepanier would have had a slipstream on that lap, but he certainly didn't. Terrio needed one to even get within a tenth of him there. So, a very good lap indeed from the pole sitter overall, who is just practicing the pit entry now, and that's something I always say is underrated in the practicing for a sim race. Especially here at Fuji, you seem to find it's a very difficult pit entry.
We have the tally of how many guys got speedy in the pit lane within the 8 hours.
I don't know actually.
There was a couple. Like you started with Van Hasse, then we had like I think on the second pit. After that, we had probably about like 3 more guys getting black flags because of speeding in the pit lane. Then a second pit stop, I think, had about one or two drivers having also speeding in the pit lane. It's because it's kind of tricky, right? It's not like any other racetrack. I think the only racetrack, in my opinion, that kind of like mimics this of sorts might be Interlagos of sorts, because you're coming off the straight. Of course, Interlagos is not a main straight. It's not a straight by itself. It's kind of like a cornet straight as you're coming up the hill. But you have to brake on a straight line of sorts. You have a chicane-esque entry, and you have just to brake at the cone. So it's not the easiest braking zone by any chance for you to get within the speed limit. And in Fuji, the speed limit is not fast. It's not 80 kilometers like you would have in F1 graded tracks like Interlagos, Coda, and so on. Here is 56. So it's a considerable speed that you have to come down from, like, let's just say 260 down to 56.
Speaking of speeding in the pit lane, actually, Andrew Caron, who's got 6 wins, by the way, in the PRL's history, and of course driver for a while here as well, he got, I don't know if you've ever seen this before, he got pinged for going on the tarmac on the left-hand side on the pit entry too much, on the red tarmac, which I don't think I've ever seen before, but that got them a bit of a penalty. That's also something to watch. Not only leading through a chicane, but you're also not allowed to go on some of the tarmac.
Maybe unsafe pit entry, from I think. I've saw that happen, I think, with a few drivers already in Fuji. It's not common, but it can happen. Because
it certainly can.
It certainly can, because it's a very unique, like I said, it's a very unique pit entry. You have mainly asphalt, so you, on paper, think you can kind of like use it and abuse it of sorts, but not really. You have to keep it within the white lines. Literally, the white line is when you come into the pit lane. Even at the exit of the pit lane, whenever you get a pit exit, you can actually get a penalty just by going a little bit off the white line to try to merge into the track and get an unsafe pit exit.
Well, mostly, you certainly do. This is the starting grid of the race then, with Advanced Motorsports taking another 1-2. Valentino Trepanier's 5th pole position of the season, and Simon Terrio in 2nd. It is David Mendonca and Kevin Simpson on the second row with Matthew Brewer and Steve Baker, the first two in the AM class, sharing row 3. Then Emmett Lindqvist, the first non-Porsche, 7th place ahead of Luke Wallace, with David Holland, the first of the Mustangs, ahead of Jaden Conrad and Elliot Brzezinski for the Fieldiness Racing team. Conor Wagner is 12th for Delta Sport and their Mustang. Nick Ludeke, another Fieldiness driver, is 13th, ahead of Peter Nobwell, the first of some SimCity racing drivers. He's 14th, ahead of Sean Dickinson. Then Jeremy Littleton in 16th, ahead of Jason Allen and Ethan Bass, who share row 9. The remainder and the end of the top 20 is Kyle Robertson and J.R. Williams. Noah Anderson and Miles Brown are not on the same team, despite the fact they look like it. They are sharing row 11. Joshua Spears and Adam Henwood are indeed teammates, so they're sharing row 12 ahead of Wesley Price and Richard Saavedra, who were the last to set times. Chris Stewart did not. So there's your grid. And it's Advanced Motorsports on the front row again. That's why they are the team's champions. A tiny bit warmer, 71 degrees Fahrenheit here, a lot less humid. I don't know why the conditions are so different, to be honest, because it is still the first of April. It is still 8 a.m.
It's Japan. It's right in the middle of the winter season, not winter, going crazy. The spring season, so you can get like some very crazy weather. Sometimes it's very humid, sometimes it's not, so let's just go with the flow, man. So one thing that's going to be quite interesting, and sometimes that can happen, is this nose stop here. I've seen a few nose stop attempts in the official series. This kind of matches what the official series does, so looking forward to see if anybody's going to attempt that crazy thing.
Absolutely. Well, 40 minutes ahead of us, just an hour and 20 left of the season entirely, but this is the penultimate round of the PRL GT3 Sprint Series. Vincent Trepanier extended his championship margin to 6 points with that pole position, ahead of his teammate, and they, I'm sure, will work together on the way down towards turn 1 to ensure that they're still 1 and 2 at the end of this opening lap. But will they all get through turn 1 cleanly? They certainly did in the Fixed Series. We will see if it's the same when they're allowed to tinker with the setups, as all of these guys have done. In towards the pit lane will come the pace car. And how long's Trepanier going to leave it? Terrio will know. How can everybody else react? And there they go. Immediately, they fall into line. The two Advanced Motorsports Porsches get nose to tail with one another. In towards turn number 1. Trepanier feeling the need to defend a little bit. As coming from the outside line comes David Mendonca in the black and yellow. He's making his way around the outside quite nicely. It's a big dive down the inside from one of the Fieldiness BMWs, by the way, but they all get through quite cleanly. In the opening corner again, both classes of car getting through nicely in the opening corner of the race. Into 5th place goes Steve Baker, who gets right in behind Matthew Brewer, of course, 4th and 5th overall, and of course 1 and 2 in the AM Championship as they go through 130R for the first time. That's very close between David Holland and Emmett Lindqvist there. Will Holland have a look? He certainly will. Down the inside of the Corvette as they remain side by side now out of the hairpin.
And we're going into Dunlop. That's where the dangerous lies.
Yeah, exactly. That's where it all fell apart in the Fixed Series. And we're going 3 wide here in the Sprint Series. They're braking a little bit earlier. They know what can happen down here. And they do get through cleanly in the top 10 at least. Still side by side for 9th place here. Or 8th, I should say, between Lindqvist and Holland. Holland's on the outside and skipping through on the inside will go Jaden Conroy as Matthew Brewer's off. A huge spin in the AM Championship. The leader spins through the final sector for the first time.
And I think Holland got spun around coming out of that.
He did. He reverses out of the way, but a couple of huge spins from the top 10 of this race. It's allowed his teammate Conor Wagner to get into the top 10, by the way, past Nick Ludeke, but it's not quite done yet. Lindqvist is giving the slipstream to Wagner as well here, because he's side by side with Elliot Brzezinski. Here comes the BMW on the inside line. It's single file for the top 6 or 7, but side by side for 8. As Brzezinski and Lindqvist go side by side. Here they go, outside line here for Lindqvist. And Brzezinski is still working for on the inside. Meanwhile, up ahead, Steve Baker is just letting a few drivers through. And, well, he's only let them Mendonca through in the end. It's Luke Wallace who's just in behind him. Then Jaden Conrad, then Kevin Simpson. in the top 10 up here. Still side by side between these two. Finally, Budzinski gets through, as there's a big incident back here, I'm afraid, for either Miles Brown or Carl Robertson. One of the two. It looks like it's Robertson. It is indeed. And Lindqvist back for Budzinski. These two won't leave each other alone.
Yeah, they're like fighting tooth and nail for every inch of the racetrack. They can kind of like use a good look at Budzinski now. Outside for him going to dog.
Oh! That was always going to happen between those two, I'm afraid. Lindqvist and Budzinski both off, and through goes Wagner, then Ludecky, then Dickinson. And Lindqvist rejoins. He'll let them back through again, including Budzinski, who gets back through as well. What a dramatic start here. With so much going on here, not necessarily inside the top 5, but back here in this group, it's been very, very chaotic so far.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Chaotic is one way to say it. As I think that's even fast now making the movement on Lindqvist. I think Lindqvist just got his penalty cleared out from this time. So these first two laps proved us a point that people are not afraid to throw elbows and things like that for the championship standings 3 wide.
Jaden Comright up the inside of Luke Wallace here. And Steve Baker, I should say. He's looking for 4th place in the BMW. And Baker really doesn't want to be a part of this right now. And finally just get back in single file as that's spin in turn 1 for one of the Ferraris. It was Jeremy Littleton who now drops to the back. Where's Matthew Brewer? 18th place as things stand. Huge for the AM Championship, of course. He holds 11 points over Steve Baker as things stand. He's losing 12, so you do the maths. He would be behind by 1 going into the final race. And Long would be gaining 2, so he'll be 6 points behind. There's the spin for Matthew Brewer that could be so important by the end of this championship. There's going to be a lot of spins to look at here. That was David Holland, who was touched around, I think, by Emmett Lindqvist.
Yep.
That's all through the final sector. This was into the... And Matthew Brewer, it was on the inside there. So if Brewer gets in trouble penalty-wise, it will be for that. He did look alongside there to me, but we'll see what the stewards have to say about that. Jeremy Littleton ends up spinning around and down the order. There are the 2 leaders, meanwhile. It's Vaz Chupanier and Simon Theriault. 1 and 2 as things stand. David Mendonca 3 seconds behind. Then, well, he's on his own, really. Jaden Comright is ahead of Luke Wallace, then Steve Baker, then Kevin Simpson to round out the top 7. But it's, again, a dream start for the Advanced Motorsport Porsches.
Yeah, basically the traditional start they probably used to get, right? So let's see, the thing is, can they hold this 3-second gap they have to everybody else?
Oh dear, someone's stopping down the order very quickly there. Elliot, oh, he's back again. Is he? Elliot Budzinski? No, he's not back again. Oh dear. Was that internet? Looked like it to me. We will see, though, about that. That gives Matthew Brewer a free place in that case. He's now 17th. And he would be tied on points with Steve Baker as things stand, but what an important race it's going to be for him, trying to regain places. Now, was it internet for Budzinski or crash? Oh, it's a big incident! And he's slapped the wall with the left-hand side. Not a huge one in the end, but that was the thing that sparked his visit to pit lane. And Budzinski is now down in last position. Through the final corner, Jason Allen in 11th place, just ahead of Emmett Lindqvist. As the long stream of cars comes out of the final corner here. Will Lindqvist give it a go down the inside? Already got himself in a bit of trouble tangling up with David Holland, of course, in this race. So now he has a look. Does he have a move? He certainly does. Oh, no, well, he backed out of it pretty late on there. And so Jason Allen is allowed to hang on to 11th position. Of course, Jason Allen, if you were with us 1 week ago, took the race victory at Watkins Glen. He was as surprised as anybody, but pleasantly so, of course. Now down to 11th in this race here so far at Fuji. We've still 32.5 minutes to go. Plenty of time still remaining in this one.
Yeah, and still the potential of a nose stop or an elongated stop or an overcut, so it's still a lot of things to transpire in this race.
Yeah, there certainly are. But it has calmed down from the very beginning of this one, where it was manic, really. Jaden Comright under quite a lot of pressure from Luke Wallace for 4th place at the moment. Then Steve Baker just behind, who's forming a group of his own now, with Kevin Simpson right behind. There is Baker. If he loses a place, he'd lose the right to a championship lead, and there they are on the right-hand side, tied for 12, Brewer and Baker. Japani at the moment would be extending his margin to Terrio to 10 points as things stand. Anyone, of course, within 55 points of the championship lead would have a mathematical chance of winning, or 57 I should say, as that would leave the top 7 with a chance, but you get the point, it's probably not likely that things would change that dramatically. It's still pretty close in both, which is good to see.
You would have to, you need basically, what, a disaster coming into the final race for the top 2 to not be within contention.
Of course, the point for pole and fastest lap, but of course you need the final round is can't be a drop round, so that's why it is so important here late on. There it is, the top 15 on the right hand side. We'll keep an eye on it over the course of the day. David Holland's really dropping down, of course. Oh dear, Adam Henwood meanwhile is off. That's just in behind Carl Robertson, who's been overtaken by Wesley Price there in the Porsche, and Adam Henwood in the background has gone off through turn 3. Wonder whether Robertson was related in any way to that incident, because he seems to have lost a small bit of time in this lap as well, as Miles Brown has a look at the inside of another one of the SimCity Racing Corvettes. Down the inside, that was Chris Stewart on the outside, and that was a nice pass from Miles Brown up to 19th.
Yeah, Stewart tried to go for the cut pack, but there was no room for him to work with right there. I think it was just textbook overtake into Dunlop.
Pretty good going for Miles Brown. He's about to get himself onto the back of this very big group that's beginning to form behind Emmett Lindqvist and Jason Allen. Allen's just been overtaken for 11th place, and it might well get worse for him here. Ethan Pass right on the back of him now in the Mustang. He was in the top 3 last week at Watkins Glen. Was very pleased to be there as well. Can he maybe get back into the top 10 here? Starting with this pass on Jason Allen, maybe in towards turn of 1. He has a look down the inside. Does he go for it? Not very late on the brakes, but he might not need to be. Allen gives him the room, and Ethan Bass goes up to 12.
Yeah, good effort from Ethan, just keeping himself clean, trying to move a few spots whenever he finds the opportunity to do so. Of course, I think he probably wanted to move those on a Ford GT, but he's taking everything he can on a Ford Mustang. Still Ford.
Yeah, well, yeah. Still counts.
Yeah, he's the Ford boy. We normally call Ethan as the Ford Sim, or the Ford boy.
Yep, been driving them for a very long time indeed, including in this series. Someone's asking me to give an point update at the moment. Not sure if they're being sarcastic, because I keep talking about it all the time. I do mention it a lot, but yeah, these are the things that matter on the penultimate round of the championship. Matthew Brewer, Chris Long and Steve Baker are the ones really you're looking at involved. Matthew Brewer the leader. Chris Long is 8 points behind, but because of he's taking his drop week as a DNS this time round, he will score points for 16th place. So just imagine he's in 16th, but he's going to stay there for the whole race. Steve Baker is 11 points behind and currently up in 6th place. As things stand, Baker and Brewer will be tied on points. Chris Long would be 7 behind, I think, as things stand. Yes, they would. So that'll be 3 covered by 7, but there's still a very long way to go. And my goodness, that's a battle in the background round going up. It is Wesley Price trying to hold back Carl Robertson at the moment. Richard Saavedra and Jeremy Littleton as well. They're going all over the place. Wasn't a good run for Saavedra onto the front straight. He's gone backwards. Here goes Robertson to the outside. Price definitely wanting to hold on to the place. And here he goes up the inside. Does Robertson, who'll be back on the outside again by the turn 3. Oh, it's a squeeze. He's still got himself alongside though, and he's finally going to have to back out. That was all very dramatic for 21st.
And they got a little bit squirrely and aggressive, especially on the defensive effort.
Well, that is the final battle in the race, really. Adam Henwood is behind them after his spin through turn 3 a few minutes ago. David Holland and Edit Baczynski are both out of the race after their incidents earlier on in the day. So look at the group going through the bottom of your screen there. It's absolutely huge, going from, well, Steve Baker, maybe can we call it, from 6th place. Saavedra and Littleton have a little look from each other. But yeah, Steve Baker basically causing all this group from 6th place.
Hey, it's good to see he's kind of like pushing the train of, what can you say, about 5-6 cars that you have, like starting from him and all the way down into Sean Dickinson. So even though the gaps are not like they're close to one another, they still are able to save a little bit of fuel. You still are able to use the draft to your own advantage and try to go extend yourself for an overlap after you're done with the pit stops, and the overcut is potentially successful. So I know Steve's not going to be overly concerned with the fact that his direct competition is sitting all the way at the back.
I think I would still be concerned in this situation if I was Steve Baker, though, because of the amount that are right behind him and the fact that he is the cork in the bottle at the moment. That does spell trouble for the pit stop cycle, that is only just over 5 minutes away, and maybe the first stops will be happening even sooner than that as they break for turn 10. Oh, it's close. Simpson a little bit wide, misses the apex there. Nick Ludecky gets a little bit closer. Emmett Lindqvist is creating his own mini group as well, as that was Brower in the background going very wide, trying to pass J.R. Williams. There's Lindqvist just ahead of Ethan Bass here, who's also making strides again.
Yeah, caught him up pretty quick though.
Yeah. He's not exactly got rid of Jason Allen either, so you can tell that he's bringing the two SimCity Racing drivers with him as well. In those two McLarens, that's Jason Allen and Peter Nobwell. 13th and 14th, onto the long front straight they go. Who's going to be making moves here? I think everyone's a bit too far back, to be honest, but Bass may be included. As further back, we've got a pit stop just around Matt Brewer, but it isn't Brewer. I think it's
J.R. Williams.
Yeah, it is Williams. So first stop, now things get interesting.
Yeah, but halfway point of the race though, we're barely halfway in. That would have to be a very different strategy for you to have the upper hand on everybody else, and you have to come with a little bit of traffic lock towards your end for you to, you know, get the undercut on people. So it's a risky strategy, can work, but I would say for a track like this, the way to go is for you to go as much as you can on the fuel range and potentially get an overcut.
Yeah, I think that is the way to go based on what we saw in the last hour in the PRL GT3 Fixed Series. William Fenson going 1 lap longer than Israel Osborne to end up taking the win. Meanwhile, Kevin Simpson is under a lot of pressure for 7th place now. Ludecky just looking left and right, trying to make this move, and Ludecky's got his own pressure from Conor Wagner behind, but it is the BMW who's currently giving Simpson a real go into the final sector. He's not going to be able to work his way through here, but he is applying the pressure. Wide again from Simpson there.
Oh, and a little bit of a wider angle line for Simpson right here. I actually opened the door for Ludecky's M4 to pass, but I think the gap is way too big for the M4 to catch up and attempt an overtake.
Ethan Bass just seems to have got off the road at the final sector, by the way. He's dropped down the field.
Yeah, P14 all the way down to P19 from what it seems.
It's, I think we're at turn 14 there. At 13, excuse me. I think. We'll have a look back at that in a few moments' time when we can. And here it is. Oh, anti-cut curves on the outside again, and a real squeeze for Jason Allen to get past.
At least he didn't get like yomped into oblivion or barrel rolled into oblivion. So that's the good thing.
A small silver lining to what will be a big disappointment to him at the final sector there. So we return to the battle for 6th. Ludecky not close enough again. In towards turn 10. He stays behind Simpson and Steve Baker, who still is at the front of this group. Now he's no longer in the championship lead. Matthew Brewer is ahead of Ethan Bast. Even if you take into account Gerald Williams, that he might come back out ahead of Brewer. He's still not in the lead anymore. So just getting what he can at the moment, Steve Baker, but he needs to keep these drivers behind. I know they're pros, but he needs to put as many drivers between himself and Matthew Brewer as possible.
I think Simpson's also helping him out a little bit. You know, we saw a few situations like within the 8 hours of like teammates helping out, blocking the path or making the life difficult for a competition to overtake, right? So I think on this situation you have two so packed drivers trying to help out each other, trying to maintain some track position and not allowing the other guys to come through and attempt an overtake. And Simpson is doing a really good job being the, if you want to call it, the shield towards Steve Baker's sword.
He is a little bit. Is Kevin Simpson, one of the Solpec Precision Racing drivers, of course, as is Steve Baker. They don't look like teammates, but they effectively are. And I just wonder whether that is his role here, designated, or whether that's just how they've fallen on the racetrack.
I think initially probably would have not been the case, but given how I think the championship standings are, and I think they are aware of it of sorts, I think they got relegated to that. Oh
no! It's all gone wrong. Nick Ludecky and Conor Wagner in a real concertina moment. And Emmett Lindqvist will get down the inside. Meanwhile, of Sean Dickinson in all of the carnage. These two will have damage, and they have. Ludecky throws it off the road. He's got damage. And Conor Wagner certainly has as well on the inside. Oh, that was such a comedy of errors. He got into the back of Simpson, did Ludecky, and then, I mean, they just could not stop hitting each other there. Simpson was hit by Ludecky, who slowed down and was hit by Wagner, which put Ludecky back into Simpson for a second time. Then Wagner hit the BMW again. It was a comedy of errors, and into the pit lane comes Ludecky, we believe with a meatball flag. I'm not sure if it's he or Wagner who's got one, to be honest with you. It might be both, but they're both in anyway.
They both have something. Oh man, this is just a bummer, and I think this is just a normal racing incident. I really want to look from Simpson's perspective real quick from his cockpit, because from what it looks like, I think he either too much curbing and the traction control actually activated and kind of like held the car in place and slowed him down a little bit, and eventually caused the domino effect right behind him. And that's why it was to the detriment of both Wagner and the other driver. Let's look at the replay. Yeah, small skid, but you can see what a skid can do for a driver. And Ludecky and Wagner had no blame whatsoever for the contact.
Yeah, this is the camera angle I'm looking forward to. Now, does he get into the back of the Porsche before it slides? Yes. So he caused the first slide, and he hits him 3 times. I mean, ow. I mean, for me there, the drivers towards the back of the group have got responsibility to look what's happening ahead of them and slow down if they need to. And for me, I mean, I get that there might be a concentrated effect once, maybe twice, but Ludecky has ended up making 3 bits of contact with Simpson there, partly because he's not paying attention to who he's hitting from behind, and partly because the drivers behind him are not paying attention to him. So they're all hitting each other, and it's caused 2 of them to drop down a very long way. This is what Conor Wagner saw. I get it's difficult to react, of course, but there you go. I mean, the amount of contact there for what happened, I think, is is far too extreme, but there you go.
Yeah, I know where you're getting at. I think I don't, but then again, I'm not gonna pin blame on Connor way too much. The first one is something that it's like it happens because you're already it's checking up. So you're checking up so close to one another. It's hard for you to react properly, right, and avoid any potential issues. And the second hit, which is the hit that goes on the rear left of Ludiki's car, is just a reaction to the contact that happened from the third car back into the second one. So it's kind of like just adding kinetic effect into the hit itself. So Connor cannot do anything rather than, you know, going to a secondary contact as a chain reaction to what happened right behind him, you know.
Yeah, it's difficult to react, but I think pretty careless from them, to be honest with you. But there you go. We'll see what the stewards have to say about that as the drivers again make their way over the line. This is the battle for third place, by the way, between Dave Mendonca, Jaden Cobright and Luke Wallace. 16.5 minutes to go, and still no sign of these drivers pitting in yet.
Oh, they're going to put it way down at the end of the race. I think would say at the same time, probably potentially as the as we saw the guys into the Fixed Series come in, which was like 10 minutes left or something like that, or close to 10 minutes left, if at all. Like I said before, there is the possibility of a no stop, but it's the hardest thing for you to do in a track like this. It's doable, but you have to commit so much. And I mean literally so much to do that I don't know if it's even worth it on a race like this.
In towards turn 10 for these three. They've been driving like this for a little while. This is how the championship standings would be if the race were to end right now. Trapani would have 10 points over Terrio. That's the ones you've got to focus on in pro for the overall lead. Trapani would only need a top 5 next week to win the title. Very similar to Fenson's situation in the Fixed Series.
Yeah.
And Brewer at the moment is only 5 points ahead of Baker. Although I still believe Chris Long would be 12 points behind. I'm not sure that has been taken into account there. Or the other entire possibility is I've done my maths wrong. We'll see which is
never trust the commentator's math as Brouwer moves up one spot.
He does. Ahead of Noah Anderson. I didn't realise he'd gone behind Noah Anderson. Actually, he's on the defensive, Brewer. This is pretty big news here, and he's oh no, he's not coming in. Oh, well, that was quite confusing. But Anderson does get to the outside, and this could well take a very important position off of Matthew Brewer. Once again, it's the battle for 11th place. Has he got it finally? Yes, he has. And there you go. The gap goes to 6 on the right-hand side as Matthew Brewer makes up a position. He's gaining some of those back after his spin on the opening lap.
Yeah, I think we knew that Brewer's pace was actually really good, and after the spin, I think it was just an eventuality of him, you know, coming back and being stronger than everybody else. From what it looks like, his Porsche 911 GT3R looks very well set up, looks well rounded, no snap. I think he just spun because of the coat tires kicking into effect, right? And it's not easy for you to keep control of the car. It's not naturally easy for the Porsche, but once you had some heat in the tires, it's much more manageable. As we look into the standings once again, kind of like updated, and you can see where Chris Long is standing right now in between despite the DNS.
There is the rest of it. So Long, according to that, is on +8. Oh, of course. Oh, it is me who's done the maths wrong. I must apologise. It is me. It's not the graphics fault. Of course, it's
like I said, never trust a commentator's math,
never.
and you know this much.
including my own, which has gone catastrophically wrong there. So Long will be losing a lot of points today. I should apologise. And it will be between Brewer and Baker in that case. Chris Long, of course, might have a chance of holding on to third ahead of Miles Brown. That's where he's dropping to at the moment. Brown, of course, with plenty of chance, though, to advance his position this afternoon. So I apologise. That was my fault. 12.5 minutes to go. And the top 5 still yet to come in. As you say, we saw some quite late pit stops in the fix. I don't think anyone's going to try and do a no-stop, to be honest with you, but we are going to see some very late ones. I mean, we're not far from 3/4 of the way through here.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're going to be seeing like guys from, for example, I would say Conrad, you know, he's in a primary spot to do maybe a lap and a half extra than everybody else. He hasn't attacked Mendonça for basically the whole race, right? So, and also Luke Wallace. Luke had a little bit of more action than these two guys combined because they had to go around Steve Baker and some other drivers, but still, it's that mental effect of saying, you know, I am going to overtake you on the overlap, on the overcut. It's just a matter of time for me to strike.
11.5 minutes to go here. Still the top 15 yet to come in. At best, I think Steve Baker can hope that 2 of those who have pitted already, Sean Dickinson and Gerald Williams, can get ahead of Matthew Brewer and not ahead of him. We'll see if that's what materialises, but if that is the case, then there'll be 7 points between the two of them, as in today's score. But Baker does have a lot less pressure on him than what he did earlier on. He's just ahead of Kevin Simpson, which you mentioned earlier on. They are teammates, so seem to be helping each other out a little bit here today. Well, Simpson rather seems to be helping Baker, probably more accurately. And so that is a positive, but if Brewer's making up loads of positions further down, there's not a lot Baker can do about that, really. And that, of course, only increases the margin going into the next round. There is Matthew Brewer just ahead of Noah Anderson here in 11th place.
Yeah, and he's low, and I was going to say he's slowly catching up Peter Nogwell, but last lap was an improvement for Brewer right there. It's just 2/10 slower, but there's still the possibility for the number 62 to catch 73 before the pit stop is done. But I think he's going to require maybe some luck after everybody done their pit stop. Now leaders into the pit lane.
Yeah, the 2 Porsches are in, but only them in for the moment with 10 minutes to go. Still 6 laps to go here, by the way, as they make the pit stop. Finally, some others further behind come in. Another Porsche, Steve Baker. And Lindqvist in the Corvette, though, is in as well as Jason Allen here. Now, is Terrio going to be any quicker in the box? If he can get ahead here, that will be very useful indeed, but he can't quite do it. Japanier is still ahead here and in a good position to go on and win this race.
You know, part of me thinks you're sending a message to the whole crew here in the GT3 Sprint Series. You know, they don't mind racing against each other for position, but they want to send a message, clear-cut message. They are the cream of the crop right now in the North American scene.
Well, at the moment, Trapani and Terrio are completely untouchable in this race by the looks of things. They're only just ahead of Wesley Bryce, of course, but they are not worried about him, considering that the Porsche hasn't been into the pit lane yet. These are the 3 leaders in the meantime, with 5 laps to go now as they make their way out the final corner. It will be at the line anyway. Now, do they all come in response? Do they have any more in the tank? Doesn't look like it. And so Mendonça, Conrad and Wallace now follow each other in. Simpson will be next if indeed he decides to come in. Peter Nobwell as well. Wonder if Vincent Trapani and Simon Terrio in 6th and 7th will retake the lead, and they certainly will. because all the 5 in front of them make their stop. So 5 laps short on this occasion. Chapani has had a better outlap as well than Terrio here, and it looks like he might be on his way to a race. We said that last week before he went for a late spin, so let's hold fire on that one just for the moment. Mendonca looks like he's got ahead of Comright, or stayed ahead of Comright. Luke Wallace just in behind. In fact, Mendonca's got a bit of a margin. In 3rd place, he's got some breathing space. The battle will be for 4th.
Looking where also Baker's gonna round himself in the grid, where now Simpson actually got the overcut on his teammate.
Yeah, you'd imagine they'll reverse that though, because of situation.
Yeah. And also there's no adversaries behind, so they gonna have a little bit of room for him to do the switch and not allow Lindquist and Dinkinson to come through.
To be fair, they might leave Simpson ahead of Baker for a little while so they can tow him around, but you'd imagine there will be a change late on. They might well leave them to fight over it, we'll see. Brewer is behind J.R. Williams then, so the gap between the two 6 positions. As we continue to follow the fight for 4th position between Comright and Wallace. Nick Wallace, of course, the race winner earlier on in the season of the opening round of the championship, our first championship leader. Since then, though, he's not really been near winning again. He's not been on the podium again, in fact. There is Brewer right behind J.R. Williams, who I speculated whether he would get out ahead of Brewer here, and he has. So that's another position for the AM championship leader to try and get ahead of now.
And what impresses me is the confidence and level that he has in his car, right, with the setup in Fuji, right? He doesn't seem phased. I think the spin didn't phase him, which is really important, right? That you brush off as quickly as you can these mistakes, especially early on.
Looks like Jen Comright has had a disconnection here.
Ooh.
He's not in the server as far as I can see anymore.
This changes the championship within the top 5.
He's got a black flag, apparently. Black flag for Jaden Comright is what I'm seeing as well a couple of minutes ago. So we'll get to the bottom of that. Don't know what that is all about, to be honest with you. But Brewer's got through on J.R. Williams meanwhile. I suspected that move was going to come at some point, actually, and now it has in towards turn 1. Brewer's up to 11th now.
Don't tell me he's pet in the pit lane.
Absolutely no idea why he's out the race now.
That has to be the only, either that or something related to pit lane, because there's no other way he could have got like the incident limit. Literally no way.
Well, he would have had a drive through first, for example, before getting disqualified. So yeah, there is no way that would have been what's happened here, I don't think.
Sheesh.
But we'll try and get to the bottom of it. There's the battle just behind Brewer. I was thinking maybe Ethan Bass could get onto the back of Brewer, but I don't think there's going to be enough time left for that, especially since the fact there's J.R. Williams in the way. So Brewer looks okay to finish 11th here. Not sure he's going to get any more than that. Oh, it's in the background. Joshua Spears goes into the air. Oh my goodness. The anti-cut curbs have whatever you'd say, struck again. Oh dear, again. Joshua Spears there went properly into the air.
No barrel roll though. I think the anti-cut curbs in Fuji this time around today just said like, nah, we already had enough of drama within that 8 hours. So we're like, we need a break.
That was quite spectacular. This is what happened. It's just a little bit wider.
Yeah.
We've got to get rid of these curbs. I mean, really, they are really quite vicious. Well, he's not fazed by it. He's now on the outside of Wesley Bryce immediately and can't quite do it into turn 3.
I'm surprised, like, he doesn't have floor damage in his car.
Well, yeah. Doesn't seem to be damaged. There's the slow-mo.
So, I've watched too many replays, like I told you, Ewan. That is the textbook of you basically doing a barrel roll after the second bounce.
Oh dear. That was Wesley Bryson, Joshua Spears getting together there. Bryce flashing his lights, but I think it was he not giving the space to the Mustang on the outside that caused that in the end, but there you go. The two will, well, not much good favour between the two because it doesn't look like Spears is going to give the position back again. This is what happened. When you're on the inside here, you've got to be prepared to give space on the outside, and I don't believe he really did that.
Yeah, even though there's some very small overlap, you're going to see that Bryce is going to have the upper hand, but yeah.
Oh, that's small. It's quite a bit of overlap.
Yeah, no, there's overlap. You got to give room.
Yeah, absolutely. This is Peter Nobwell and Jason Allen, their teammates. They won't fight too hard, you wouldn't have thought. Matt Brewer will certainly be hoping they do. It'd be a bit of a miracle. Steve Baker has gotten back past Karen Simpson because Emmett Lindqvist is catching them both, and Simpson might have to go into rearguard duty again for the second time this race as we get into the final lap very shortly. Trapani not too far away from crossing the line with the white flag as Allen gets past Peter Nobwell and moves up into 9th place.
Yeah, clean move as every position that Allen can get is a good one for his top 5 battle in the championship.
Certainly is. Was revitalised last week with that win.
Oh yeah.
I think it's still going to be a long shot for him, but certainly helped him on his way. 1 minute to go, and so 1 lap to go here in this race. Francis Trapani could be about to take his 4th victory of the season. Would mean he has the most of anybody guaranteed at the end of the season if things stay as they are in this race. Can Steve Baker hold on ahead of Simpson and Lindqvist as well? It's a big group just up ahead of these two. And Baker would certainly close in the margin. It will be just 5 points between he and Matthew Brewer going into the final race of the season. As long as he can hang on to that 5th position just for the moment, Steve Baker. And that's a great result for him in the end, to be honest.
Oh, it is an outstanding result, especially with Brewer having the mistake early on, and the recovery just helped, I think, Brewer's case a little bit, just to try to survive for a little bit longer. But the number 2, a fantastic job as now clock runs out, final lap.
Yep, the white flag has been waving for everybody now, and Trapani is just coming out the final corner. He's flashing his lights, he's weaving already. Terrio is not going to overtake him late on, is he here? As Advanced Motorsports rather slowly take up a photo opportunity to the line. It's their day at Fuji Speedway again, and he does, oh, they try and give each other the win. Trapani wins in the end, ahead of Simon Terrio, with David Mendonca finishing on the podium, and then in the AM class, Steve Baker making some big strides forward and taking the victory in the AM class here today. A very important class victory that could turn out to be as well, as he goes back to back, really giving himself the momentum going into that final round in Sebring in 1 week's time.
Imagine if Trapani had lost to that attempt of a photo finish moment.
I think he tried to give the win to Terrio there, but his teammate said, no, you have it. I don't know what was going on there at all.
Conversation.
Very bizarre. But there you go. They are 1-2. They are the standings as we run on the right-hand side. Miles Brown will be 7 points behind Chris Long for 3rd in the AMS. Because that's the overall standings, and some of those you can see on the right-hand side there didn't appear here tonight Hopefully they'll have one last run out at Sebring in 1 week's time. It's Trapani and Terrio again, 1 and 2 for Advanced Motorsports, who are certainly teams champions now. David Mendonca joins them on the podium with Luke Wallace 4th. Steve Baker is the AM winner in 5th. And Kevin Sipston and Emmett Lingvist on the Solpec team. SimCity Racing round out the top 10 with Sean Dickinson, Jason Allen and Peter Nobwell. Just outside of the top 10, Matthew Brewer finishes second in the AM class with J.R. Williams next. It's Chris Stewart also on the podium in the AM class. Ethan Bass and Noah Anson round out the top 15. Miles Brown just outside of it with Jeremy Littleton, Joshua Spears and Wesley Price rounding out those within a minute. Adam Henwood rounds out the top 20. Carl Robertson finished 4 laps down, although he did cross the line. Along with Jaden Comright, who didn't, but he should still score the points. Richard Saavedra 6 down with Conor Wagner and Nick Nudeke both retiring after their incident. It was Elliot Brzezinski and David Holland who were out and retired first. Let's go to the AM class first, and Steve Baker, who has won there. Congratulations, Steve, on your victory and 5th place overall, of course. It's a big stride in the championship as well. How are you feeling after that one?
Yeah, that was a fun race. I both hate and love to see Matt have an issue there, but was a big week for us in the points and best result of the season so far.
Exactly, just 5 behind him now. How are you feeling about that gap going into the final round at Sebring?
Yeah, I like Sebring. Matt's been good everywhere, so I'm sure it'll be a battle there. But glad it's a little bit closer heading into the final race.
Absolutely. Good luck for that, and congratulations on the win tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much. Steve Baker, they're the winner in the AM class. Now let's go to Pro, and we work our way up the podium because the Advanced Motorsports driver's not here yet. David Mendonca, first of all, who finished in 3rd. Congratulations, David, and thanks for chatting to us as well. Pretty late battle between yourself and Luke Wallace was there in there as well. It was all very dramatic. How it tells us a little bit about that final stint, especially as you came out the pit lane in that 3rd place and held on in the end.
Yeah, I was trying to save some fuel since I lost the draft of Vincent and Simon, so I was kind of just playing the fuel strategy, and it looks like I got a little bit of a jump out of pit lane. And then I don't know what happened behind me, but something must have happened between Jaden and Wallace and give me a little gap, and it was just kind of easy sailing from there on out.
Yeah, we saw Comright get a black flag for something, but we couldn't really work out what it was for. It was rather confusing, I've got to say. How are you feeling about the final round going into this and the season as a whole now that it's almost coming to a close? We haven't had much chance to chat to you. How do you feel it's gone?
It started off pretty rough. I felt like I had pace. I had a screw up round 1, and then Le Mans I had a disconnect, and so just some bad luck. But Sebring is one of my better tracks. I think I qualified pole there last time we were there and finished on the podium. But I haven't spent much time there lately, so it's going to be interesting. I know the Mustangs and the McLarens are hauling butt over there, so it's going to be tough, I think.
We'll see how it goes. David, congratulations on the podium tonight, and thanks for coming to chat to us as well.
Yeah, and a quick shout out to Precision Racing League, Abruzzi and Sopec for all the help, and all the teammates for helping for the Fuji 8-hour and helping on the setup, and couldn't do it without everybody.
Excellent. Thanks very much, David. 3rd place tonight in the Fuji round of the PRL Sprint Series tonight. GT3 Sprint Series, of course. Buzz Trapani can now join us as well from the top step of the podium. Welcome in. It was a rather bizarre finish, I've got to say. What was going on between you two there, going up towards the line?
It's because me and Simon, I want to have a fight with Simon for the last round. So I'm just playing with him. I'm gonna put the brake on the finish line, and just to let him the win, and he's gonna close the gap between us for the championship. For the driver championship, but he said, no, don't do it, please, don't do it.
It was very bizarre, but you've been nice to each other, so that's good. How was the race generally? I mean, you two ran away from the front of the field pretty quickly in the end, as is becoming a little bit normal now, actually, in this championship. How do you feel you were going around here at Fuji tonight?
Sorry, just repeat the question just slowly, please, because I'm a French. Just repeat slowly, please.
Sorry.
The question.
I will do. How do you feel you were driving around here at Fuji today? You and Simon got away pretty quickly in the race. Was it going well? How did you feel it went?
Yeah, we are very happy. I know that Simon has a better race pace than me, but after the practice tonight and after the quali, because during the quali he gave me the draft for to make the pole lap, and I tried to do the same thing for him, but I think the dirty was very bad. When you are at approximately a half a second behind, so I think it doesn't help him to beat me in the quali. But yeah, we are very happy to the race on Fuji, because last year I just pinned the Porsche to the kink when I was tried following my old teammates Andrew Caron. So tonight I'm very happy to have a win there. Yep.
Well, congratulations on that win, and thanks for coming to chat to us as well.
Thank you, guys. Thanks to my mate Simon. Thanks to Advanced Sim Racing, Advanced Motorsport, and PRL, and you, RaceSpot. It's always a great. It's always fun to watch your broadcast.
Thanks very much. Congratulations on the win. That was Vaz Chapani there, the winner of tonight's race. Let's go back to Am briefly before we end as well, because Matthew Burrows popped himself in. We'll have a chat with him too. Welcome in, Matthew. Second place for you tonight in the Am class, but an incident on the opening lap for you tonight. Just tell us about your perspective on that one.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate what happened. I had a really good start. I think I jumped one position. Then I was right on the ass of Mendonca. And then after throughout the lap, I saw a big opportunity. He made a big mistake, went down the inside, and overcooked my tires and spun myself.
And the recovery after that has got you to, what, 6 or so places behind Steve Baker. How do you feel the recovery was generally?
I think it was really good. It was tough at the start, keeping my head on a swivel, but fell back to 21st and had to grind my way back up. I was fortunate enough to have some spins and crashes in front of me. So, yeah, I take what I can get.
And that puts you now 5 points ahead of Steve Baker going into the last round next week. Just quickly, how do you think that's going to go at Sebring?
I think it's going to be very interesting. Steve is a really good racing driver. I think he's very consistent, and he has a really good race pace, so it's going to be interesting. Hopefully I'm not going to spin that round 2.
Let's see. Hopefully not. Congratulations on recovering to second, though, in Am tonight, and thanks for coming to chat to us as well.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Matthew Brewer there, the second place driver in Am. That's just about it from us here at Fuji in the PRL GT3 Fixed and Sprint Series. We'll be back in 1 week's time at Sebring, of course, for both series. That will be something to look forward to. 8:30 Eastern Time. It'll be our final Precision Racing League broadcast of 2024, so I very much hope you can join us for that on the 26th of November. We'll be back tomorrow night with Truck Series racing from Auto Club Speedway, of course, as finale week will continue in the Precision Racing League here on RaceSpotTV. It's been a pleasure having you along this evening. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Lorenzo Bonda with Hugo Luis behind the cameras. We'll see you tomorrow night at Auto Club for the Truck Series finale. It's goodbye for now.